Peace be upon you. I am Qadi Tayyib. This is Quranomics. This is part 22 from the Islam of the Quran to the Islam of the Hadith. Imam al Shafi'i, the true founder of traditional Sunni Islam religion. Can anyone freely use his mind? We said that we devote this definition to the jurisprudential analogy that, according to al Shafi'i, to add what is not stipulated in his ruling to what is stipulated in his ruling in the book, the Sunnah, and the antiquities, knowing that knowing these traces, the saying of the companions, as Al Shafi'i says in the letter, the, the book of the message, page 596, are in terms with this higher value, it is much lower than the two references that preceded it, because its sanctity remains human, while the sanctity of the book and the Sunnah are divine, according to Al Shafi'i's hypothesis on the revelation of the Sunnah, of course. But here, and with this specification, a question arises. If what is stipulated for its ruling is not available in the book, the Sunnah, and the antiquities, is it necessary and indeed permissible for the mind to strive and measure? The Shafi'i's answer here is definitive and in the negative, since it is not permissible for a scholar to say except in terms of knowledge, and if he had said without knowledge, he would have been closer to sin than the one who said he is not knowledgeable. Page 507, 508. But that question is, from its basis, in the opinion of Al Shafi'i, absurd and meaningless. The aspect of knowledge from the Book of God, the Sunnah, and the traces is such that it is so broad and comprehensive that it is impossible for the scholar not to find his demand from the stipulating ruling to the measures the ruling of a calamity that is not stipulated. That is, the Quran as a first principle in it, the statement of everything, as Shafi interpreted it, then the Sunnah as a second origin and as a statement of statement, so is so broad that by analogy with the Arabic tongue, that is impossible for one to encompass it, even if it is in its entirely, not some of it goes away. If Aden is the collected for all the people of the earth. And how much will this endless encyclopedia be if it's added to the book, the Sunnah, and the antiquities? Hence, it is not for the scholar to rule or issue fatwas on his own, under the pretext that he did not find his demand in these three major and exclusive sources of knowledge. And if he did, he would have indicated, in addition to his sin, his ignorance, and thus the attribute of the scholar would be lost from him. So Al Shafi'i invalidates the door of approval, seeking to fill all the gaps and all the narrow space that may remain open for the mind to judge, and invoke it and enter into a free thought for itself, although this is impossible if the three sources include everything. It is not for the scholar to measure himself and say, in his own opinion. In this case, he is obliged to remain silent, and if he had said, he would have fallen into the sin of approval. Even if the approval is a good effort, it is unproven and rejected. That is because Shafi'i sees that any ijtihad outside the text is considered a deficiency and in the divine statement. And this is what Al Shafi'i does not allow in his reading, that the Quran was revealed to clarify everything and that God would not have left man in vain. So he says, so whoever prefers it will have said in his own opinion, and whoever says according to his own opinion will have followed the whims of his reason, and he has broken his connection with the law. Thus, we see how Al Shafi'i subjected the mind from being free to being standard in the branches exclusively on the transcendent origins to him. On the other hand, Al Shafi'i reinforces the references to the fundamentals and their obligations in an unprecedented way, as he made the invented Sunnah the equivalent of the Quran in its issuance as it is from a divine revelation. Al Shafi'i had one goal, which is how to stop the mind from working. If it is not absolute, then in the text, while keeping a narrow space in the margin to practice the only activity that is authorized for it, analogy in the branches exclusively. And life and thought moved from reason to transmission with the establishment of a Shafi'i or another Islam for him, his people, and those who will follow him. As we stated, Shafi'i gave no mind a chance, gave no one a chance to use the mind, and basically accepting the traditional Sunni Islam as you see it out there, according to the Shafi'i's book, as we stated, he's saying you're entering at your own risk. You enter here, you cannot use your mind. You're not allowed to use your mind. And if anybody from the Sunni traditional Islam uses his mind, he always feels guilty. He feels guilty that he uses his mind freely and he feels bad and he wants to go talk to the scholars or make amends or promise not to do it again. And that's what the whole problem is. So this is just a little steps, a brief. I mean, I encourage everybody to read the book, but focus on these parts that I mentioned, these 22 parts, focus on it and analyze it and see it's not actually what a Shafi is not doing is dedication to the religion, is dedicating to himself. He established a new religion, purely Sunni Islam religion. And he has his name or his belief up there with the Quran. I am Qadi Tayyib, and this is Quranomics. Thank you for watching, and we have more to come. Thank you.